Shamsa.
All right. Thank you so much. So our guest is here. And she's here on time. Actually, earlier, yesterday tulikuwa na hali ya sintofahamu.
She's not a politician.
We invited a guest and yeah, you know what happened if you are here with us. But today our guest is here early, and she's none other than Miss Natasha Errey. She wears so many hats, actually, and I feel like if I do the introduction, I won't do it justice. So I'm just going to mention a few. She is the chairperson of the Law Society of Kenya Coast Branch. She's also an advocate of the High Court. Those are the only two I'm going to mention from my side, and then we're going to give her the opportunity to give us that deep dive of the vast, the big introduction that I know she's going to do justice to. So, karibu sana, Miss Natasha.
Shukran, Shamsa. Thank you very much. I'm very odd usually with introductions because it just feels like when you're over hyping yourself to the world. However, so as you said, my name is Natasha Errey. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I was admitted to the bar in the year 2014. I have been running my own law firm for the past 10 years. Apart from that, I am also the chairperson of Mombasa Law Society. I'm the first woman ever to hold that position. Mombasa Law Society is the oldest bar in East Africa. So it was formed in 1911, and we've never had an elected woman. So I'm also the chairperson of Coast Branch Law Society of Kenya. I'm also the first woman to hold that position. In essence, it means that members across the coast region have elected me to basically stand in for them and represent them at the main the main office, basically, which is Law Society of Kenya, which is based in Nairobi. I'm also, so basically what we have what we call a chairs caucus for Law Society of Kenya, which means all the chairs in Kenya sit in that caucus, and I'm their vice chair. Yes. Okay. I'm also the chairperson of the Ethics and Practice Standards Committee of the East Africa Law Society, because I'm also a member of the East Africa Law Society.
Okay, rudia hiyo ya mwisho, East Africa?
East Africa Law Society. So East Africa Law Society is a society that we automatically belong to as advocates in Kenya. When we pay for practice and certificate, we automatically pay to be members of East Africa Law Society. It has about 47,000 members across East Africa, including Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zanzibar, Ethiopia, Rwanda. I think I've mentioned all so far. So I sit on the Ethics and Practice Standards Committee, and I'm their chairperson.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Hi.
All right, so that is the introduction. It feels like I couldn't have done that, mashallah, very huge, a lot of, areas you're in, chairperson of this, mashallah. So now, why law? As a Muslim lady, majority of the time, people look at us and be like, huyu ni wa kukaa nyumbani, ataolewa. So how did you find yourself in this journey, and you chose to study law and not stop there, but decide to also wear this many hats?
So honestly, my mom is a lawyer. She's been one since 1981. So she's been a lawyer for the past 45 years, if my math is mathing.
Ni hapo ni 45.
Ni 45,
Kwa sababu mimi najijua, ndio maana nakwambia
kumbe uko huko. Usijali, tutakufikia tu huko. So I feel like, and I've mentioned this before, pale alikuwa mdogo, like she used to go to court and she used to have a lot of matters, and at that time she didn't have someone kutuangalia sisi kama wao ni watoto wake. So she used to carry us to court. I have two other siblings, a sister and a brother. Wow, hakuishika sana. Mimi nilikuwa nikienda kotini, I used to think, wow, this is so amazing. And that's basically how I got into it. I think she slowly introduced me to it, but I felt like home. So growing up, I did not see anything else that I could possibly do or be good at, if that's if that makes any sense. Kabla hiyo, I wanted to be a veterinary. Lakini chemistry ilikuwa imekataa kabisa.
Wasema chemistry ilikuwa haipandi
kabisa. Hata hiyo math unaona vile imenisumbua, kawaida mawakili math inatusumbua.
Lakini yani math itakusumbua, lakini historia
ameshika vizuri.
Historia maana most of you ni history.
Yes.
Sasa historia huku ya miaka na mikaka, jadu na jadudi, huku itaishika, lakini hisabu na kemia hapa
akaamua achie madaktari.
Okay.
Actually, in fact, with the history, I have a degree in history.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yes. That's why ukisema historia ndio mimi hapo kidogo naelewa, lakini hiyo huko kwingine.
Sasa wewe itabidi tukulete hapa wakati mwingine uje sasa tuzungumze historia ya mji wa Mombasa. Kila wakiamka hivyo wanakuambia jiji lina miaka 1000 so tutakuja hapa. Shamsa, tuendelee sasa.
All right, so we've tackled your journey towards law and whatnot. So my question is, when you're diving into this field, I want to ask, maybe what are some of the challenges you encountered as, you know, again, a Muslim lady, and in this journey we understand that you're usually told that when you come to law, there's a lot of corruption, kufanya mambo ya haram and whatnot. How has your journey been?
Honestly, I think I should be very, very grateful that I already had like a mentor, like in my mom. Anyone that knows her knows she's very strict, like very particular in the way that she does things. So I think it becomes easier. Ukiingia kwenye kazi, ushaona mtu yani the steps that they're already taking. So it becomes like a pathway. They've lit it up for you. So when you come kuifuata. But yes, there's a lot of issues here and there. But I think any profession, kama we mwenyewe huji, if you don't keep yourself in check, any profession allows you to be corrupt and to be, you know, to go on the wrong side of the road. I mean, I always say, ata mtu mwenye ana wholesale, as akakwambia yakuzia pishori kumbe ama basmati ama kuzia a bad version of the rice. So anyone has that opportunity. I think you just have to really keep yourself in check. Jite mkutano once in a while, to be like, how am I doing? Am I veering off? Or because the problem I think that we have in our profession or any other profession is that you come in having drawn a line saying mimi hapa sivuki. Alafu as time goes, waisongeza we mwenye ile mstari. Waisongeza towards the other side until eventually ukishtukia you're already on the other end, and coming back is very difficult. But I think having good mentors is very important. I think when you're having some sort of foundation in your faith, whatever it is that you're practicing, if you have that foundation in you, and I think you should manage. Not that we're perfect, but at least you're always reminding yourself in the direction that you want to go in.
Mimi Natasha nitakuuliza, nafikiri ni mwaka jana kulikuwa na kashfa kwenye hii ya changamoto hiyo. Kwa na kashfa hapa, sijui wale mawakili wa Kongwe wanadhulumu hawa tunaita wanagenzi wanaoinukia, hususan wa kike, because story ilikuja na upande wa kike. So kuna mmoja alikuja akaja kuieleza sijui hiyo internship sijui inafanyikaje na nini. Hiyo protocol yenu ya internship hapo sijui nani uwe na ni master sijui ni nini paka ndio aseme sijui, yani vitu vingi tu viko hapo. Hiyo process wewe kufikia hapa ambapo kwamba umefikia advocate of the high court, chairperson, ndio maana mimi napenda kusema president wa Mombasa Law Society hapa Mombasa, lakini pia wewe ndio vice chairperson wa the chairpersons caucus hapa nchini. Hicho kipande cha kabla sasa uje ukue admitted to the bar, kama natumia the right words, hicho kipande hicho wewe hapo ukiambo kizungumzie hiyo changamoto hiyo unaizungumziaje?
Yani hicho kipande ya doing internship
hapo kwenye hizo kuna hizo stories za kwamba ni wote ni wa kike na wa kiume wanapitia changamoto. Kuna dhulma hapo ambazo zinatokea. Zile zilikuwa dhulma za kijinsia. Inaweza kumtokea Barisa, inaweza kumtokea Natasha. So hapo hiyo process hiyo ya kwamba mpaka sasa nao uje wakubali kwamba sasa wewe you are supposed to be admitted to the bar. Hiyo sehemu hiyo ya wewe umesoma, umekuja kwenye internship before sasa uanze kufanya kazi. Alhamdulillah umesema una law firm yako mwenyewe. So hapo hizo changamoto za hapo kwenye kukua sasa kuja kubobea kwenye uwakili.
So I think it's a tough process. Let me not lie to you. If you talk to any advocate kuhusu Kenya School of Law mwanzo, ile mwaka mmoja,
it's not easy.
I think we all need therapy. I really I mean, if I tell you Barasa and Shamsa, yani mimi hata saying kapita we drive past Kenya School of Law, nasikia malaika yani.
Maybe give us a snippet of what happens in there.
Paka leo kama wa drive wapita Kenya School of Law wasikia shiva malaika wasimama.
It is not a joke, because they were saying that last year when they had the last batch, I think the pass rate was, if I'm correct, was only 21%. That is a pass rate. Mind you, you've done 4 years of your LLB. Yani ushafanya degree nzima. Ni hii mwaka moja tu that's standing between you and becoming an advocate. But Kenya School of Law is very tough. So I 100% give my props to anyone that is going through it, and is doing the exams. I honestly wish them luck. But once you're done with that process, as ushamaliza exams zako, ushapita yani, you have to go to a law firm for 6 months. It's basically it's called pupillage. The purpose of the pupillage is to kind of show you the ropes. We all know vile vitu ambavyo unafundishwa university is never what is actually happening on the ground.
Wanasema vindu vichenjanga huko.
Ushaelewa yani sasa, so like wewe on paper it seems I understand ukifika ground it's so different. So that's the purpose of that pupillage. And so the idea is Kenya School of Law itakupatia kitabu like a report book ambayo pupil master wako will be filling in that and signing kama amefanya kazi tumefundisha, that kind of like a report for the Kenya School of Law. And you have to go through that 6 months. You have to. So I think the problem that you are discussing in terms of now people that have been, either sexually harassed or have been mistreated or, some sort of, whether it's emotional abuse that they go through, usually happens in that point or when you're in your younger years of being an advocate. I'm not saying that when you're older advocate, you don't go through it, but I feel like as you get older, kidogo una msimamo. Ushaelewa? Yani mtu it becomes a little bit more difficult for someone to interact with you because humtegemea yule mtu. Sasa wewe fikiria pupillage. Unamtegemea yule pupil master kukubalia ni kusema kweli amekuja akafanya kazi and all those kind of issues. And it's a very real problem, guys. It's a very real problem. It is absolutely concerning. At the time when hizo shida zilitokea, Mombasa Law Society, we had a meeting with, at that time, who our president was, Faith Odhiambo, Law Society of Kenya. Pamoja na chair, the chair for the caucus, Errey ambaye ni chair wa Nairobi, and FIDA. Tulika, we had a meeting because remember that information ilitoka wapi? Ilitoka Mombasa. The person that posted that information was an advocate that was based in Mombasa. So for me, I felt like I have to reach out. I cannot be in leadership, be a woman, and just keep quiet about these issues that are going on. We reached out to FIDA. We came up with some guidelines on how they're going to take it forward. And my understanding is Law Society of Kenya has now come up with a committee. They've put in senior advocates and other people that will now be taking these complaints. Shida nini is hata kama there is a committee now, I don't know how easy it is for someone to come forward and say kama mimi I have been sexually harassed or I've been emotionally harassed, because you're thinking huyu ni mtu mkubwa that you're reporting. So I really hope and I pray that there's a way that we can create an environment that allows people to report these issues so that we're actually dealing with them.
Okay.
Maybe you talked about being young and whatnot. So being a young leader can sometimes lead to imposter syndrome or being underestimated. How do you turn your youth into an advantage rather than a liability?
Ooh, that's a good question. Did you hear me say in the beginning that I don't like introducing myself because it feels like I'm showing off? But that's imposter syndrome lives with you, constantly lives with you. Honestly, I feel like we can look at this through two ways, right? First, being the youth part. Being the youth part means that you bring a different type of energy to the table. You bring a different type of thinking to the table. It's a thinking that maybe previous generations would not have thought in your way, right? For example, when I came into Mombasa Law Society, one of our main issues that we were looking at that time was to make sure that we have the members together. We used to be very close as a membership, what's Mombasa and the Coast region. Then over time, something changed. Ikawa sasa tumegawanyika baina senior advocates, mid-bar advocates, and junior advocates. And for me, because I'd previously served as a Secretary General for 2 terms at Mombasa Law Society, I did not understand yani hiyo umetoka wapi. So that was one of the things. And then we also had a lot of mental health issues that we wanted to address. We do a lot of walks, a lot of workouts together, just so that we are sure that everybody is okay, or at least getting to that point of being mentally and emotionally, physically stable. As advocates, we go through quite a lot in terms of the type of work that we do. Sometimes we double up, not just as your advocate, but also as your therapist. We may not be qualified for that position, but it just somehow happens. So I think being a youth, you really need to look at those aspects. What makes you different from the previous generation or the older generation? What can you bring to the table? I think there's that, and there's also the element of being a woman. I think any woman that comes into leadership, you may feel a bit of pressure to lead like the way every other person leads, or to lead the way a man would generally lead.
100%.
I think you need to really fight that off and keep that element of you being a woman, because you bring a completely different form of leadership to the table if you accept and embrace the fact that you're a woman and you're there as a woman leader, basically.
Okay. Haya, sasa hapa tunataka tu divert kidogo. Before sasa tuje kwenye mnasema the real meal. To divert kidogo. Juzi kwenye bunge la Senate. Karibu niseme mheshimiwa Natasha.
Soon, inshallah.
We'll dive into that.
Hey, wewe ungoje.
I was waiting.
Hiyo ndio ile tu chokochoko. Mchoko
no ama wewe unajua tena nikimaliza.
Chokochoko.
Barisa nikimaliza tu nitachoma.
Basi tuache. So bunge la Senate pale anaitwa nani? Mheshimiwa Karen Nyamu, seneta maalum. Alipewa fursa ya kuweza kukaribisha binti ule. Wenyewe wanatizamia akimwangalia Natasha, akimwangalia Karen Nyamu, akimwangalia au maseneta wa kike, anajua mimi pia siku fulani baadaye nitakuja kuwa kama hawa. So alipewa ile fursa. Alisema maneno pale ambayo sehemu kubwa ya wale waliokuepo pale pia na wao, paka yule ambaye pia alimpendekeza akakuta kama ambaye nimekosea mimi kumwambia huyu. Maana kila mtu alibaki kimya. Shindwa kwani sasa hapa tumefanyaje? Wewe ni mwanasheria kama yeye. Ajabu ya Rahmani, yeye pia ni mwanasheria. Sasa hapo ndio saa nyingine tunaanza kuweka maswali. Vipi huyu hii historia pia anaijua ama hii sheria aliishika kweli? So wewe ukiambiwa ulizungumzie lile tukio, manake sehemu kubwa watu wengine walienda mpaka wakasema resign kutoka kwa ule wadhifa. Baadhi ya nafikiri ni Oroba alikuwa senator maalum, chama kikamuondoa yeye. Alienda mbali akasema yale mambo ambayo kwamba nilikuwa nikiyasema sasa ndio haya yanajitokeza. Wewe kama kiongozi wa kike lazima uliona lile tukio. Unalizungumziaje?
Honestly, it's very shocking. Okay. I don't even know what to say. It's a discussion we've been having within our members of Mombasa Law Society. I know that the Law Society of Kenya issued statements as soon as it happened, saying, because she's an advocate, so the Law Society of Kenya is saying that conduct is unacceptable. But me as a person, not even as a leader or just me as a woman, I am baffled at how you could make such a statement towards a child. That's my first point. You shouldn't make that statement towards anyone for that matter. But the fact that it's a child, what are you exposing that child to? Why is your mind... The first thing it goes to is you're asking what kind of services the child is going to provide. I am very concerned that if this is what is being said out in public so easily, what happens behind closed doors? For me, I feel like I agree with you. Either she steps down or she's removed from that position. You're not fit. You are not fit because, you see, the problem that we have is you're being looked at as a leader, you're being looked at as a woman, you're being looked at as an advocate. And in all those three fronts, according to me, you have failed.
Yeah.
All in those three fronts.
Yes. As a leader, as a woman,
as a lawyer.
Yote ameanguka. No, there's some things that, and I know this usually happens, that we could be in a group and someone cracks a joke and one of you is uncomfortable because it says something weird about someone, a woman or nini. Speak up. Just be like, no, that's inappropriate. It needs to be cut off at the bud at that same point of conversation, because you laughing or you kind of being like it's okay means you're allowing it and encouraging it, and that's not the type of society that we want.
And do you feel like some of the leaders that we put in place get to these spaces and forget that they're actually to a point that they abuse these powers? And we have some people even saying that sometimes even putting women in leadership is an issue because we have instances like this.
I think so. I think there's an element of forgetting, which is fair. And I think that's why I keep saying, "Ite mkutano." Call yourself to a meeting once in a while and just be like, look, you're doing this right and you're not doing this right. But I also have a question. Do you guys possibly think that the system only allows a certain type of people to move into those positions because they would allow such conduct?
If you ask me, the system favors those kind of people.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. And don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here judging, saying that I'm perfect. I'm just saying, or either one of you are perfect, because I know you guys are always on radio and you have to always be aware of what you're saying because you're talking to a big group of people. But it's just that element of kidogo unaji. Yeah.
So
Because what you say carries a lot of weight. A lot of weight. And now just imagine that grade 10 girl, what is she thinking? What is going through her mind? Do you think that she'll now aspire to go into a position of being a senator or any sort of leadership position? Because it's like, if this is what I'm dealing with, do I really want to expose myself to such a setup?
No, vile matamshi yako sasa analeta swali jingine hapo kwamba tumezungumzia system imetengenezwa kuwapa vyeo watu wa sampuli hiyo. Sasa hapa tusiweke tunaweka tu wakili, tusiweke hivyo vyo vingine. Wewe kama Natasha, wewe kama wakili, ukiangalia ni kitu gani ambacho kwamba kinafaa kifanywe kwenye huo mfumo. Mimi napenda kuita mfumo kandamizi wa uongozi, kwamba huyu kwa sababu alijitoa muhanga, sasa tutampa. Huyu kwa sababu alitoa senti zake, sasa lazima tumrudishie fadhila. Fadhila mfadhili mbuzi, binadamu atakuudhi. Sasa wale ndio mbuzi wanafadhiliwa, si wengine binadamu wataleta maudhi. Ndio kama vile sasa. So wewe ukiangalia ni kitu gani ambacho kwamba kinaweza kikafanywa kwa mtazamo wako, ili ile system hata kama sio kusafika, lakini iwe na busara na hekma ya kumpata Natasha ambaye atakuwa pale azungumze vitu vya busara na vyenye tija.
Okay, I think we can look at it from two fronts. The first one being our mindset and how we think.
Okay.
A few months ago, I was at a leadership training for the University of Nairobi combined with some other students, basically all the leaders for students that are within Mombasa region. And, they were complaining about the type of leadership that we have now, the kuna corruption, kuna all those sorts of issues. And I said, okay, sis tuenda mbali. I asked them as students, when they have an exam coming up, na hajasoma, na ajua kuna leakage pahali. Tuanze hapo. You don't even have big stakes. Those stakes are still very small, Barisa. Very small. It's just exams.
Madam President.
Ni kweli. So nikawauliza. Kama nyinyi you had an opportunity hapo, na uko year 4 tuseme, ndio that's your last exam, second term. And you had a leakage. How many of you would actually take it? And it's a very small stakes.
Unatuuliza sisi.
Yeah. If you think of it in terms of those kind of setups, so now think of it at a larger scale.
Yes.
You're looking at big perks, you're looking at big salaries, you're looking at escort cars and bodyguards and nini.
1.1 million.
Thank you. So
3,000 cc.
That's not at your cost. And so I think that's the main issue. I don't know, and I'm not pointing fingers to all our leaders. I'm not saying it's everyone, but I don't know how many of them are actually going to those positions specifically to serve the citizens and the nations and their people. I'm not saying that when you get there, the ukatai mshahara, na ukatai whatever perks that come, but I don't know how many of us actually carry our people in our hearts when you're going to do any sort of job for them or represent them. So the changes that I would say is we need to change the mindset of the upcoming leaders. I don't know if there's much we can do now, kwa sasa ambayo watu they're already what's the word? I don't know what the word is called in Kiswahili. Anyway, formed those habits. We may try to change them over time, which would be...
Lakini ishazoeleka, imeingia iko kwenye miili yetu.
So now we start looking at the younger leadership that is coming up. But it becomes hard because even though you're training them otherwise, you're still looking at the current leadership that is in place.
And that's the problem.
Yes.
We have a question over here that has been sent from Omar. He says, good morning, Barisa and Shamsa. Salimia Chair, Miss Natasha. So his question is, if lawyers go for such training to connect with the industry, she calls it pupillage, if I get it right. Now, this has been a challenge for most of the courses offered in universities, disconnect between what they offer and industry demand. Which intervention can be done for the rest of the fields?
hapa ndo pale barisa alikuwa sema tutapigwa mawe by other professions. So I think the internship makes a lot of sense for me. I think it's in fact for me I think 6 months was not sufficient because I literally quit every day in my head in those 6 months because it was not making sense to me. Like you've done your LLB, you've done your Kenya School of Law, lakini huelewi kwa nini the information that you have is not translating to the ground. So I don't know how other professions would work. I'm sure doctors have some sort of internship program that they do. I would highly suggest just having some sort of internship program, even if it means it's built within the university course. So, you know, expecting someone to do 4 years, alafu arudi tena afanya another 6 months, may be a bit hard for them. But within the program itself, I think it would make sense to just offer those kind of internships. I know for the LLB, we have a term where we do attachments to law courts. So basically, you're there every day trying to understand the ropes of, you know, what you'd be exposed to, how the courts work. And that slowly eases you into the type of setup that you'll be seeing yourself in. I know some high schools that I usually work with within Mombasa have internships over the summer program. So you need July, August, really. So they bring students to my office and they stay with me for 2 weeks and they kwanzia year 10 mpaka year 13. That's usually the group that I take. And I feel it may be good exposure that way pia. That 2 weeks for someone to even think, do I really want to do law? Because usakuja ukafanya your 4 years Kenya School of Law ukashtuke and think, nope, this is not for me. Yes. So I think just exposure to that thing and to the actual profession that you want to go into. I know a lot of students are probably are not looking at conferences and such kind of setups, and I'm not sure how the universities can slowly introduce them to those. But I feel conferences really help because you're meeting people that are key players in the industry. You're meeting some have like judges, magistrates, the CJ. So in that setup for lawyers, I mean, a conference is a good place to be able to attend and just meet people, you know, and they can give you a rough idea of what it may look like when you actually start working. Yeah.
You've mentioned something about, he said, Mheshimiwa, the Natasha, and you're like, inshallah, one day. So let's,
ngoja
you wait.
usimpeleke mbio huko
Wait,
usimpeleke huko taratibu, tutamuuliza hilo, twende huku kwengine, huko kwa uongozi mwache kidogo.
Okay.
Tusimkate.
He's giving me breathing room.
Hiyo juice hapo, kuna juice. Sawa.
Okay.
So twende unajua tamaduni zetu sisi Mombasa hapa, ama tuseme pwani kwa ujumla, na naamini umekulia hapa. Na mazingira haya unayajua kwa ukubwa, kwa sababu umekulia hapa, mashallah, East Africa. Unaifahamu, bado pia una wadhifa huko, lakini mazingira yetu kwa mtoto wa kike wa Kiislamu ukupambana mpaka kufikia hadhi hiyo ambayo kwamba umefikia, sehemu kubwa ya sisi, hata tusemi watu wa nje ndio wana nondo zao wanarusha, lakini sisi kwa sisi, mtu atakaanze kujiuliza alipitapitaje, iliwezekanaje, kwa ile nadharia ya kwamba after all, asubuhi kwa tunazungumza na Shamsa, sisi ni wepesi kwa sababu tulijengwa kwenye nadharia hiyo ya kwamba ni wepesi wa kusubiri maembe yaanguke. Lakini leo hii tuna chairperson, inaitwa MLS.
Yeah.
Lakini tuna vice chairperson wa chairpersons caucus, vile ambavyo unaisema, that is nationally. Lakini anavaa buibui. Hapo umuelezee yule mtoto wa kike anayeinukia mwenye kuvaa buibui, na ile dhana kwamba watakwenda wapi, kwanza watafanya nini, hicho kibavu kwanza wanacho, lakini we upo na unaongoza kwa vitendo, iliwezekanaje? Sasa hapo mvue mama kwanza. Yeye najua ndo amekuonyesha barabara, imeonekana ni hii, lakini bado hiyo kasumba iko, lakini wewe ni kama ambaye umepambana nayo na umetoka, tunakuona.
Okay, I think first things first is let me not be like, oh, it's all me. Definitely Mungu mbele. Most important part. Yes. Just in allowing you to get to places, it can never be just you. That's one. 2, it's people that are holding your hand. Mentorship is the people that you surround yourself with. If you're surrounding yourself with people that are telling you it's impossible, it can't be done because they haven't done it, then automatically your mindset becomes that haiwezekani. The people around you, if they're supporting you and really telling you the way that's supposed to be done, and when things get really bad, how come nakwambia? No, it's an element of, it's okay, we've hit a rough patch, but we shall move forward. Very important. I think also, should I do this Gen Z thing where they're saying you have to be very dilulu?
Yeah.
Yani, you have to ujiaminie
that's the only
solulu ndio hiyo umeelewa. Yani barisa kuna ile kitu mtu yani wewe unaangalia ile shida unasema this may be impossible, lakini you tell yourself it's okay, tutapambana tu nayo. I don't think anything good comes easy. I don't think anything good comes easy or comes from a comfort zone. For the minute that you are sitting in a place that you're comfortable, I don't know if that necessarily means that you'll bring about changes or that you'll make a difference. I really feel that you need to understand there'll be difficult days. There'll be hard days where you're thinking, what was I thinking? Why did I even think that I want to do this particular job? But niyo kujiaminia and have people around you, and there will be difficult situations. But if you have the right people advising you, you will find your way. And you have to be very determined and persistent and consistent. Si leo unaamka, yes, I want to do the job. Kesho unaamka, sina morali now. Kesho kuta. You have to be very consistent with it.
Kabla nirudi kwa Shamsa, unaamini kwamba mtoto wa kike hususan wa jamii yetu hii anapewa fursa, anapewa nafasi na jamii kufanya anavyotaka yeye kwa uhuru wake kufikia malengo ambayo kwamba yeye ameyalenga kwenye kichwa chake? Ukiangalia jamii yetu hivi sasa inatoa hiyo fursa?
I don't think so. Not always.
Why say so?
Not always. I feel even me now as an adult,
yes,
doing my own job and everything else with we and Mtandio, I still know that they still push back a little bit in terms of mtoto kike, kwa nini wafanya hii kazi? Why are you doing this? This is exposing you to those kind of issues. So I think it's tough. But again, I think Baris and Shamsa, we need to remember there's a difference between religion and culture.
Yes.
Right? My understanding of my religion is that it doesn't stop me from doing these things.
Yes.
My understanding of the cultural type of setup that we have may be the one that is actually putting on those little bit of breaks only because it makes people uncomfortable, I feel. Do we have families and parents that 100% support their daughters in the way forward? Yes, 100%. Yes, there is. You see them and you are aware of it. And when you meet the daughter, you can see in the way they address you, the way they present themselves, the confidence that they have that backing of the family. But are there situations where girls are not allowed to, do what they want to do? Then yes. Until today, I hear parents saying, Mr. Mtongo afanye awe wakili. Because so you understand. It's not necessarily we're not always necessarily painted in the best picture, but then as I said initially, any profession allows you to be the worst version of yourself if you're not aware of the direction that you want to take.
Kwa wale ambao wanakusikiliza wanapitia hiyo changamoto, unafikiri kwa mtazamo wako wewe ni kuna suluhu, na kama hiyo suluhu ipo, kimtazamo wako ni ipi ya kuweza kutoka kwenye, maana mimi naamini huo ni mkwamo.
Yes.
So kutoka kwenye huo mkwamo tunatokaje hapa?
I think we need to change the mindset of the society. It's always about mindset for whatever it is that we're going. For me, I don't understand why a girl is not entitled to have, for example, the choice in the type of profession that they want to take. I feel like we may be having fears of our own as parents that we're putting out to the children. I don't know if that makes any sense. And there's some, even now, I talk with mzazi, even if it's a boy, I talk about, daktari. We have certain professions that as parents, we think these are the best professions. We think that these ones, they're clean. There's no issues of that sort. I really think we need to change our mindset. We have to be very supportive of the upcoming generations and what it is they want to do. And I really feel as a Muslim community, we may need to learn to make a difference between what our religion says and what we feel culturally is acceptable.
Okay.
But we need a lot of mentorship for the young girls. We do what we can through Mombasa Law Society. We also started a CBO called Muslim Legal Network. I sit on the executive committee. It's basically Muslim women within the coast region that have come together. And our purpose is basically to offer mentorship to girls generally. It doesn't have to be like Muslim girls, but just girls generally. We also offer free legal services to the women that are unable to pay for such services. And that's the whole idea behind it. Creating a setup that actually gives us the good name that would allow the society to be like, okay, it's okay to do law. It's okay to take up leadership positions. I also have another group that we started. It's called Motherhood in Law. Again, it's for female lawyers that are mothers as well at the same time. So so we try and give back in one way or the other, again, to the girls, so that we're bringing that kind of change in the mindset of how the society thinks, where the society thinks we should be going as women. But it's not a solution for today and tomorrow.
It will take time.
It will take time.
Okay.
So maybe on that same issue, there's so many laws that speak of gender equality and how the same way you treat a man is the same way you treat a lady. But we look at different industry, for example, even in your industry, it's a male-dominated industry. And we look at engineering, do you feel like there will be a day where we reach a point where it is completely balanced? Because even in our political fields, we're still fighting for women representation up to date right now. Do you think we'll ever reach a point whereby the equation is fully balanced and how we look at a woman is the same way we look at a man, as well as there's some things that we've normalized, some comments sometimes a man makes and we're like, it's just a man. But when a woman makes them, it's like, whoa, what has she said?
Yeah.
Do you feel like we'll ever get to a point where we're just looked at the same way?
As in where the double standards stop? I hope. I'm really positive that there would be a change. If I could give you an example, right now, from the last time I checked, we have more female law students than we do male in the universities. Even in terms of the numbers that are graduating from Kenya School of Law and the ones that are being admitted to the bar. This is from the last time I checked. The problem then arises is once they start practicing and when they go into the industry itself, like the profession, eventually within the third year, you'll see a drop in the number of female advocates that are actually practicing and still in the game, basically. Then as you move up to 5 years, 10 years, the number drastically drops. And then you will see that that's how the men end up, having bigger numbers.
So why do you think that happens?
And that's what we say. We need to, because basically life happens. That's the only way that I can put it. Life happens because you're now trying to be a lawyer. You're trying to now possibly at some point be a wife or be a mother. You're juggling so many things. And I think it becomes overwhelming, becomes a lot. And the way the industries are set up is not necessarily female oriented. So in short, for you to be able to get through, lazima upambane na hali yako. Like you really need to figure it out that way. But will there ever be a change? I'm really hopeful. I'm really hopeful. And I think it comes to the younger generation in how they think, changing their mindset. And like you mentioned, the thing about if a man says something, we're like, it's just a man. And that's why I said, when such conversations come up, you need to stop it right there and then. And as much as it will be uncomfortable at that point when you're doing it, but more likely than not, the person's not going to repeat that statement again, thinking there may be another you in the next crowd.
Right. Maybe what are the support system that can be put in place right now? Because you're someone that is sitting in that position as a woman, as a mom, maybe, you look at these issues and you're like, it's so tough. What are some of the support systems that can be put in place to ensure that we don't have ladies dropping out anymore, so that the number balances up there? And
that's the whole idea of the CBOs that we've created. It's just creating that system in a place where there can be a mentorship program, right? Where someone's holding your hand and directing you in the direction you're supposed to go in. I think also creating some sort of barriers, and I know this may sound a bit much, but creating a barrier for that female advocate between her and the world. For example, at my law firm, almost all my pupils and my interns are female. Because for me, in my head, I'm thinking I can create a safe environment for them. So even if I'm able to take 4 in a year or 6, I have created a situation for 6 women or 6 female advocates that feel that it's safe enough and they're ready enough to go out and practice, in the industry. And I maintain relationships with them. So wherever it is that they go, they're always more than welcome to pick up the phone and be like, hey, I'm facing this issue. How do I sort it out? I think it's just that support system.
Haikai kama unabagua.
Sibagui, because I have taken male pupils automatically into the system, into my office, but it's how I feel I'm able to give back.
Okay.
Because I can't go have a large scale organization because of whatever else that I'm doing, where I'm pushing for women only kind of setup. And so for me, that's how I'm giving back the little that I can to the society, in terms of making sure that these 6 women are in a comfortable setup and they're learning what they need to learn so they can go into the world. Yeah.
Okay, safi sana. Msikilizaji, popote pale ambapo kwamba upo, pia wewe una fursa ya kuweza kuchangia kwenye haya mazungumzo, kama Omar vile ambapo kwamba aliweza kuuliza swali la kwake, lakini wewe pia unaweza ukapiga simu ukauliza swali la kwako. Wewe ambapo kwamba unatusikiliza, mzee Shebe Kingorani hapo, una fursa ya kuweza kupiga simu kama uuliza mwanao huyu ama ni mjukuu umuulize swali lolote lile kuhusiana na either ni mila, ni dini, au na maswala ya uongozi. Ni mwanasheria, anajua namna ya kujibu maswali. Wameumbwa hivyo hao, ama wametengenezwa hivyo huko walikokwenda. So kwenye njia ya WhatsApp 0700917917, lakini pia vile vile piga simu kwa 0732917917. Kwenye mitandao ya kijamii nazungumzia Facebook, TikTok, bila kusahau Insta @swahilipotfm, lakini pia kule kwa www.swahilipotfm.co.ke. Kuna mmoja kutoka Dar es Salaam ametuma swali lake, lakini taliuliza tukirudi baada ya kupata taarifa ya habari. So nafikiri takuiba kidogo.
Sawa.
Situkuibe.
Hakuna shida.
Kwa nguvu kubwa tu, kwa sababu tuna mgeni wetu ambaye ni wakili, lakini ni chairperson, ni chairperson wa chama cha mawakili Mombasa, lakini ni naibu mwenyekiti wa kongamano la wenye viti nchini, lakini pia ana cheo kanda ya Afrika Mashariki. Amesema ni kicho cha nikumbushe,
chairperson of the Ethics and Practice Standards Committee.
Maadili. We
Veo.
Na kuna mtu hapa behind the scene alikuwa anasema vunja sheria.
Rules are meant to be broken. Si to involve.
Hayo ni yako bro. Vunja mwenyewe.
We are not part of that slogan.
Hata yeye hata kurepresent. Wewe jifanye tu. So tumerudi tena hapa, tuko naye mgeni ambaye ni Natasha, rais huyo wa chama cha mawakili tawi la Mombasa, ambaye tunazungumza mengi. So sijui tuanzie pale kwenye ile swali la ama unaanza upande huo?
Maliza ile alafu tuingie huko kwingine.
Okay, so kuna huyu yuko Masaki, Dar es Salaam pale, anatusikiliza by the way kwa www.swahilipotfm.co.ke, pale mahali ambapo kwamba ulizungumza kuhusiana na kizazi cha Gen Z, ambacho unaona kwamba hawa wana system yao iko tofauti na system ambayo kwamba sisi kuna watu wengine sisi tumeshaambiwa kwamba sisi tushazoea kukandamizwa. So unachukulia after all tafanya na maisha yatasonga, na wao unaona kama ambaye system yao inaweza ikaleta mabadiliko, lakini tatizo bado hawa wa huku juu wako. Kulingana naye, hawa wa huku juu wako. Ni kitu gani ambacho kwamba kitazuia hawa wasiwaige wale hapa katikati? Ni ndo swali lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nishakuelewa. I'm thinking there has to be consequences for the actions of our leaders.
Yes.
What happens is when our leadership makes a mistake, breaks a law, when their actions are not in line with what the society feels like those actions should be in, we make noise about it, then we go quiet and we let it go. There's not always proper consequences for their misactions. I think there has to be consequences, ones that will be discussed gravely, and in terms of even that future leadership that is coming up, then Gen Z, they know that if you make a mistake, that there's actually going to be consequences for it. That's one of the barriers that I can think of, because as humans, we learn from other people's mistakes. Generally, we should be learning from other people's mistakes. So I'm not saying itamanisha that any upcoming leader atakuwa completely clean and doing a perfect job, but at the back of the mind, they're like, look, if I mess up, there will be consequences for those particular. And then again, it's, we're trying to create a completely different way of thinking, a completely different type of leadership. I really feel that in as much as they're seeing what is happening at the top, if we're able to create a love for their country and a love for their people, over and beyond that love for the country, for the people, is higher than their own self-love. I don't know how to explain that to you. And there's people that I've met, Gen Zs and even older leadership, that generally love Kenya. Kenya, like you've touched their hearts. True patriots. And and that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that if you're seeing other people make mistakes at the top, you come in there with that. And I know it sounds very like, rainbows and flowers kind of setup, but they exist. Where they solely want to go into that position for purposes of making someone's life better, someone's life that lives katika kibera. I'm not talking about wale watu that are already having a life that is comfortable-ish. You're eating your 3 meals, you have a place to sleep, you have electricity. Those are luxuries that not every Kenyan is able to afford.
True.
So kama ile inakuuma kikweli, kama mwenzako, Mkenya mwenzako, does not wake up in the same setup that you wake up in, and does not have the same luxuries of eating 3 meals that you do, or medical access to medicine and that kind of setup, then those are the things that will keep you going in the right direction. But it has to be inbuilt from a very young age.
So how do you do that?
You train them.
Kuipenda nchi.
The thing is, I feel if you look at other countries, they actually have that embedded into their education system. They have that embedded into the education system, where you're actually taught a love for your country. When I did my first degree out of the country, and did part of my high school out of the country.
Yes.
Now, huwezi kumwambia mtu kitu kibaya kuhusu nchi yake. You can't. Because they have been taught that this is the only land that you have. Where else are you going to go? So you have to better this land. And if you're able to create that kind of thinking in someone, then automatically their mindset is to look for a solution for the problems that they see in their country.
Do you feel like such problems stems off from the fact that in our country specifically, we don't look at ourselves as like Kenyans. We look at ourselves as mi ni Mkikuyu, huyu ni Mkalenjin, but in other countries, it's a matter of, if it's America, it's like, I'm American. Yeah. There is no that distinction of tribalism, what you speak.
And I get what you mean. I think it's visible in Kenya. I'm not saying that it is very visible. And I think the minute that we shed that off, I think we've done an excellent job in terms of moving past faith. I think religion-wise, come for example, Mombasa, it's just we blend in, we move on. In fact, people from outside are actually like, they're very they're very interested. They're like, how? They just blend in and they move on. I think we need to move past tribalism. I know it's easier said than done. I mean, everybody loves their culture, everybody loves their tribe, but I think as Kenyans, we're a very interesting set of people. Wherever we go, like, people are always
species tofauti kabisa.
We're very different. We stand out. We're extremely intelligent as a group. We're very we create things that I think other people will be like, where did they think of this thing? Like, I'm actually generally very proud to be a Kenyan, because there's things that we are able to carry out, the way we think, the way we speak to people. It's different. So if we're able to capture that and just run with that whole idea, I think there'll be a very big difference. But I don't know if that's what everyone would want for us. Because unity within the people then means what?
That then means that huwezi kutufanyia upuzi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you a proud Kenyan?
100% I am.
Barisa,
mbona lakini I am a very, very proud Kenyan. I love being a Kenyan. I'm not wearing my wristband today. Komali kwa bag. But I am. I try to love this country every day when I wake up in the morning. It's not been easy.
It's been one of those toxic relationships where you're forcing things.
sometimes I have to hotspot it kidogo.
Nimejua tu kuna mahali atatoka.
Thing with this guy, he usually gets me to answer the first part of the
alafu kuna second.
Those are called leading questions.
Yeah.
That's what he does. Don't fall into that trap.
No. But because we've been here together, I've been working with her, so I love this card. Kuna vitu vinanisinya lakini I just find myself saa nyingine unaweza kuta unaona kitu kimefanywa alafu naambia mtu wacha tu.
It's okay.
Si tuko hivi.
Naomba
tu twende tuko hivi. Sasa Shamsa anaona hivi hapana.
But I feel that if we look at Kenya, like we have a lot of resources. We have the beach, we have safaris, like wildlife, we have mountains, we are rich.
Yeah.
We're very rich. It's just sometimes it's hard to look past the problems that are put in front of us to go past to be like, wait, we are an amazing country.
It's the corruption.
Country.
Usiendelee utaanza kufungua boxes zenye alafu useme ile proud Kenya useme
no longer.
Yeah.
I'm not proud.
Today is one of those days. I'm choosing to love my country.
Amazing.
Wholeheartedly. So since we're talking about Kenya, we have to talk about the political temperature in this country right now. There's a lot happening. We're headed towards the general election.
Yes.
We've seen political rallies. We've seen so many things happening. We've
Yes.
seen new people that are trying to take up these new positions in leadership. From your opinion, what do you think is the state of our country politically? What can change right now as we're headed towards the general election?
Where the political? Okay, so I think considering that we have a year and 2 months, is it, to our elections next year, 2027. I have some concerns generally, and this I speak from a place where during the Gen Z protests and during the finance bill protests, it was an experience that I would hate for us to repeat. And I'm saying this as a result of when there were, and I hope this is okay to say here, when there were demonstrations here within Mombasa and the coast region, we had to go in and, stand in on behalf of Kenyans where they were wrongfully detained because of demonstrations. Sangine, it was literally most of the time was a case of, but I'm demonstrating as a Kenyan, and then there's some other, hooliganism or something was going on. Munabebwa nyote, yani wote, yani. So we had to appear in court, we had to appear in police stations, and when you're on the ground and speaking to people about it, you realize that there was a mentality of, I have nothing else to lose. And I'm not talking even about just people that come from very basic surroundings, but I'm talking about even middle class, and that's something for me. Look, I'm not saying me ni mtu mzima sana, but it's something for me that I've not really experienced. Yani, seeing that everyone across the board is saying the same thing, there needs to be some sort of change. So yes, there's the normal political setup that we're seeing now, where people have started their rallies, watu washaanza kusumbuana na kutukanana, officially, on, social media and everything else. But then there's also that wave, kama Niko Kadi. Yes. There are those movements that are being done by the Kenyan citizens themselves. There may be a possibility that the political world is so engrossed in what they're doing that they're not necessarily paying attention to what the Kenyans,
kawaida fulani. Kuna ile political class ya ukawaida wake ambao wao wamezoea kwamba lazima tutatokea kwenye magari na tutafanya vile ambavyo kwamba tunajua wanapakana, alafu kuna hawa ambao wao wameamua kuna mkondo fulani wamechukua.
Alafu sorry, but you see there's a difference, and that's why I say there's a difference in leadership between youth and the other ones. The youth are strategic, I feel. Niko Kadi has never been a movement that has been technically done before. It's basically telling you, look, you have a right to vote, make sure you have your card.
Actually, that Niko Kadi nilifanya hata idadi ya this month, last month.
Yes,
registration.
Yes.
Ikapanda.
Exactly.
Ikaspike. Ukilinganisha na ile ya mwezi ule mwingine, I think last year.
Yes.
Yenye ilikuwa tu,
it was just Nino. And that's what I mean. There's a change. In the youth think differently. Like the younger generation will be a completely different set of leadership, because while they're thinking, okay, we have a right, let's use that right. Their first right they use was demonstration, right? The second right they're now using is the right to vote. That's how they're very strategic in the way they're going. And my understanding is the political world is still doing the same thing they've been doing, still going to rallies and climbing on cars, using microphones.
Do you think the political class wanna lose touch?
Yes. there's a real possibility that they're actually losing touch with the voters that may actually come out to vote. So we deal a lot with civil societies, like especially the ones within the coast region, because those are the ones that feed us information if there's a problem. We're not to come, like right now, the issue about the lawyer having been lost, that's information would have come through us through civil society, and we usually work with them. If you sit down and speak to them, especially the ones that are usually on the ground, there is a disconnect, but there's always been a disconnect. Now it's just been more visible, and it's louder, because there's movements that are actually being done by the younger generation that make you think, okay, this actually makes sense. It's going to be a completely different read of campaigns and elections from my limited understanding of it. Yes.
Okay.
Now, you had mentioned something. Now, my question that Barisa had put a break on. I believe now is the time.
Shamsa. Vita yako umesema wewe utaipigana.
No. We don't let things slide here. We go back. We're circling back to that. So, do you see yourself ever tapping into the political side of things? Would you ever want to take up a position? And if your answer is yes, why do you feel the need for you to go to this side?
Okay. Can we just start with me saying yes, inshallah, when you mentioned, because I've been told usikatai dua nzuri ever, automatically, then whatever's good for you will come. Would I ever consider going to the political world? Honestly, when you look at it, my main reason, for example, I don't know whether I can say yes or no now, but if I ever to go into that political sphere, is because I want to be a change. I want there to be a difference in terms of these things that you look at that you're like, this seems very basic that can be done for the people. That would be my main drive. I know it sounds very basic and but everyone goes in there saying that they want to make a change. But I feel it's very possible. It's very possible to bring on that change. Whether you'll be given that opportunity is something completely different. I think that you're in a certain you're a certain type of person. It's not really very easy to allow you to take up those positions. But yes, I have a deep love for our country, for our county. And if there's ever an opportunity that someone told me, look, this would guarantee or at least give you 50% of an opportunity to make a change, I would grab it.
Now, on those changes, what are some of the things you feel like the moments, let's say you tap into this side, are the things you'd give, top priority, like, hey, if I step into this space, these are some of the things that I'll first change? Okay,
so when we're, this would possibly be, you're discussing it from a political aspect. I'm also looking at a possibility of, we have positions within the legal world that you can take up that can make changes. That may be legal changes, but they'll be far felt even by an ordinary Kenyan citizen, right? We have positions, for example, for the JSC, the Judicial Service Commission, where you go represent Law Society of Kenya, where you have a say in the type of magistrates and judges, whether it's from the Magistrates Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court. Basically, you sit there and you make those kind of decisions. That's a change you can make without necessarily being fully in the political sphere. I feel position of President of Law Society of Kenya is also a position that you can make big changes. We saw our former president, Madam Faith Odhiambo, she worked.
She was in the front
She
lines.
was in the front line, so she was not,
alipatikana kwa sakas period yake.
Let me tell you, when she came into power, when she came into that position, that's about the same time that I also got elected as chairperson. And that's one of the main things that I think we need to, that's why I keep saying mentorship, because every time I was stuck, it was an option for me to call and be like, hey, hapa, kimeumana, how do we go about it? And I think the changes that she brought on, for example, is she was always available to the public. She was always in the forefront arguing and fighting for things that an ordinary, politician would not even be bothered about it because she had that legal background in it. I would bring about institutional changes. Again, the issue of gender balance, gender equality, and there's already laws that we have in place, like the one-third gender rule, that are just not being implemented. So it's not like we don't have the laws. It's just that we're not pushing for them to be implemented or used, or tunaiona, we're just like, ni sawa tu, iko.
Tutatumia baadaye.
Yes, but if you're able to institutionalize your changes so that atawe ukaondoka, when you leave that position, it's already there in a policy, or it's already there on paper, that the next person coming in has no choice but to follow what has already been institutionalized, I think you would be making the difference that you want to make.
Madam President, mimi nitakuuliza hivi. Mama niseme Madam Chair.
Zote. Madam President pia Amin.
Madam President. Kuna kasumba ambayo iko na, nitakupigia mfano wewe na Faith. Na sote tulimuona Faith. Kipewa mpaka sehemu ya nini akikataa. Kuna nyingine akachukua ikawa kelele. No. Mpaka akabidi ameiacha, but for me sikuwa na in agreement with hiyo pressure mpaka akaacha ile ya compensation. I was for her to be there because alikuwa kwa ground. Anajua what happened, ilipita wapi, lakini pressure ikaja, mwisho wa kwisha wacha ikae. Now kuna ile kasumba kwamba tunaishi nayo sisi, either iko kidini au iko kimila pia, kwamba mtoto wa kike hawezi kuongoza, japo magavana wa kike tuko nao Kwale hapa Pwani for the first time in history tuna Fatuma Chani. Lakini walikuwepo wengine zile awamu nyingine, sasa hivi bado tuko nao Nakuru, Kirinyaga, kuna Homa Bay huko, lakini kuna wewe sasa hivi hapa. Si kwamba hakuna waume wako, lakini wakaona wewe kwamba unafaa kuwa mwenyekiti ama rais wao kwa hapa Pwani, lakini na Faith Odhiambo kabla ya huyo kwamba alikuwepo. Hii kasumba kwamba mtoto wa kike hana nuru, haezi kutuongoza. Na kwanza, kwa nini tuongozwe na yeye? Kwani sisi wanatuonaje? Ikasumba iko kidini. I remember ni behind the scene kampeni za Kwale, I know what happened. Mpaka kwenye misikiti ilikuwa inasemwa hiyo. Hii kasumba wewe unaizungumziaje? Ni kitu ambacho kwamba kinamzuia mtoto wa kike? Ni kitu ambacho kwamba kinafaa kiondolewe? Ndio tunaona vinaondolewa. Hata idara ya mahakama, rais ni mwanamke, na congrats kwa hizo vitu vyote. Lakini bado kuna hizo stumbling blocks. Mgombea akisimama ndio anaambiwa chagua running mate, ndio atachagua. Basi tumtafute Natasha awe hapo,
alitekura kidogo sana.
So hiyo unaizungumzia?
Okay, so
in the perspective ya hiyo mimi naita kasumba.
I'm thinking, like, on my part, and obviously I'm not Simsomi, Dini, or you understand, I'm giving you that forewarning, but I'm very aware that within our religion there have been amazing women that have done great things during that time. I'm not talking about Hivi Sasa. I'm talking about during the time when, and forgive me, now am I going into religion a bit? But at the time when our prophet was alive, we had his first wife was a businesswoman, and she was very rich. She's the one who proposed. Like you understand, Bibi Khadija. And then we had different women. We had women who were in battle. We know them by name. They used to fight alongside. So for me, I think honestly, me personally, at the point I'm now, is I'm really trying to understand where religion stops and where culture comes in. I think if we become very aware of those elements, and I'm not even talking about just the culture within the coast region, I just mean generally our culture as Kenyans, even across as the Africans. World. Yes, just across the world. Because let me ask you, Barisa, how do you leave me in charge of a future generation? Let's say I have 6 kids. You're leaving me 6 kids Monday to Sunday, for example, if I'm a stay-at-home mom, to raise them, and that includes feeding them, clothing them.
Na mimi kama mimi ni mtu around the world, mimi nazunguka.
Sasa feeding them, educating them, because all their school stuff is on me. Kama wanaenda madrasa sawa, kama wanaenda Sunday church school ni sawa, ni mimi.
Na ni kawaida hiyo.
Yes, and if you're trusting me with a future generation of this country and just basically global citizens, how don't you trust me to lead the nation or lead a county?
That's a really good thing.
Because you've given
me... lakini umeipiga vizuri.
I know.
Kisha kumbuka Barisa na Shamsa, you're not just leaving me with anyone. You're leaving me with someone that's anabeba jina lako. Let's say now, if a father of the kids, anaitwa A, B, C, D. So wewe ni mtoto wa huyu na huyu na huyu. And you're okay with that?
You're raising a future leader.
Yes.
Like
So
our
how
future
would
president.
you possibly think that I would fail at leading, let's say, it's another institution, the county, the country? And in fact, I know women bring that element of being female or being a mother or being whatever to their leadership position. It's a completely different style of leadership. I'm telling you for a fact. If I could give you an example, my campaigns in 2023, so this is my second term.
Yeah.
My first term was 2023 to 2025.
So ni 2 term.
2 term.
Ndio ya mwisho.
Ndio ya mwisho. As Mombasa Law Society, and then we have our elections for Coast Branch Law Society of Kenya end of this month.
Okay.
When we first came, our campaigns were gruesome. It was one of the craziest experience that we've had as Mombasa Law Society. When my council came in 2023, kila mtu alikuwa ametoka yani team yake. Kila mtu akona manifesto yake, kila mtu has their own idea of what they want Mombasa Law Society to be.
Yes.
And there was a lot of anger, if I could explain, because you know, Barista, what you're saying before this, ushaitwa jina hii, ushaambiwa vile, you have all, so you're sitting in a room of people that, maybe not them, but they're people that campaigned for them, had said all sorts of manners of things about you. So your initial reaction as a person is, you know what, tutaoneshana. I'm just saying generally, like, because you're like, okay, now I'm sitting in this position, an initial reaction will be tutaoneshana. But I think if you step back and you're thinking, okay, as a woman or as a mother or as a whatever, I know in my head that if they don't win, then I'm not winning. If I'm not winning, they're not winning. And what will happen at the end of 2025, tutaambia nyote mulifail.
Yes.
So what is your first game plan? Is to make sure that everyone comes together like a family. And I assure you now, even though councils have changed or whatever, I am still in touch with all 16 council members that we had before. And we're proper friends and we get along, remember each other's birthdays. And that's why I keep saying, don't be fearful to bring that woman version of leadership to a leadership post. It makes a difference. So maybe that's something people should look at. Like if you're trusting us with your children to raise them, then it means that we're doing something right. And at the same time that we have something different to bring to the table. And we've had men lead for so many years. Nothing has changed. So what will you lose if you have a woman take up that position?
Happy Mother's Day to
thank you.
outside there. I am proudly saying that. Happy Mother's Day to wewe uko up. Lakini
Mbona nafikisha salamu kuchelewa?
He was inspired.
I am inspired by the president. Kwamba unajua hiyo angle amechukua si.
Yeah, I've never heard someone interpret it from that perspective.
Unasikia tu mtu anasema mama ni mlezi bora. Yaani huku kwa majukwaa au wanawake wakisimama hao wanasiasa na wacha nizungumzia. Wakamwambia mama ni mlezi bora, ukimwelimisha mwanamke umeelimisha jamii. That's what they say, and tushazoea like watasema hiyo alafu after all kisha mtaenda zenu sisi ndio wenye mji na sisi tuko hapa, lakini vile umechukua like watoto 6 alafu mimi nikijipicture mimi man, I'm not around. I am not, as in yeye ndo yuko na bado pia yafanya kazi.
You see,
lakini kumbe yeye anapiga jo.
It's an ability, it's an ability to multitask, an ability to prioritize when you must. And I feel like, you know, even us thinking of the children, we're thinking paloshakuwa kubwa where they can verbalize what they want. What about a 1-day-old baby where the mother is like, okay, there's something wrong with this baby. Either they want to eat, they want to be changed, they want this or that. That level of intuition.
Sina mimi.
And that's what we need in leadership, you know, the intuition to lead people to see what they should.
Tumekupa.
Let me take, you know, every day we're not usually balanced in this room. It's usually 2 gents and 1 lady. So today
Shamsa haya hapa mjua kale tumekupa.
Thank you. Asante, nimepokea. So Natasha, maybe for someone that's listening to you right now and it is they're inspired by your journey and they're looking at you, what advice would you give them if they're stuck between, you know, just getting out of that cocoon that they've put themselves in? What's that advice you want to give them?
Oh, there's many. But okay,
Please.
maybe we can start with nothing comes easy. If it's worth it, you have to work for it. I've repeated, you have to be consistent, persistent. You have to be resilient. There will be tough days, but you have to be tougher than those days. And there's a quote that I absolutely love. It says that basically do what you do until you know better. And when you know better, do better. So your standards should not be that, you know, Natasha, amefika hapa basi mimi. No, you should be setting your own standard. You should be competing against yourself. Most importantly, have people that are close to you that you trust that will are honest and give you proper advice, and then go ahead and drown out all the other noise that's outside. Because kama utasikiza watu wako ambao here that are busy advising you and trying to get you in the way forward, and you're busy listening to the noise that is going on outside, you won't get anything done. And then at the end of the day, just check in with yourself. Alafu Mungu mbele. That's the most
100%.
important thing.
So, what is the future for Natasha? Nimesikia ushapiga 2 term. What is next? What should we be looking forward to?
2 term, yeye amepata 2 term. Kuna wengine tajua.
Au wengine. Labda ni 1 term, labda ni 2 term.
Mama ni 2 term. Yeye zake 2 term.
Waombe Mungu ashakamilisha. What is next?
Baada ya 2 term.
So I finish my term next year, November 2027.
Oh, next year.
Yeah, because I just started my second term last year, November. It's 2 years.
Basi bado.
Bado, but huwezi kukaa tu ukashtukia ishafika November 27 na unaanza kujipanga.
Okay.
I have really been considering looking at the position of president of Law Society of Kenya. We have never had someone from the coast region or from Mombasa take up that position.
Wow.
Any sort of leadership at the Law Society of Kenya, so either president or vice president, but I don't know. I fully believe that Enye na Errey will come.
Inshallah. Kwa nini isiwezekane? Si tunataka hiyo presidency.
Inshallah.
Hiyo hapo juu. Ikija unajua wanasema ukimwomba Mungu muombe Jannatul Firdaus.
Yes.
Hiyo ndio ya juu
kabisa.
Yes.
Sasa mwenyewe hata hiari angalie kama
atakuingia gani.
Atakuwa teremsha hii ya chini ama basi nitakupa hiyo Firdaus ukakae na mitume. Mwanze kupiga story. Bwana wajua sisi vitu kama hivi. Na ukimuomba pia riziki usimwombe 50. Mwambie bana Mungu mimi naomba 200. Akiona kupe 150
ni sawa pia.
Sawa. Sasa sisi tunataka
president.
Kwani Faith aliwezaje?
Yes. Why not?
The only chair, the only president wa LSK mwenye I hold dearly hapa ndani it's Faith. Au wengine najua Isoki na Errey mtu. I saw many of them huko nyuma, but huyu Faith. Huyu mwingine ambaye hata ameingia juzi,
President Charles Kanjama.
Wewe najua ni wakili. Nitasema lakini mimi kila simuoni.
Uja feel impact bado.
Yuko wapi? Unajua Faith hata kama aliingia wakati yenye kulikuwa na
rabsha mambo mengi.
But still hata sahi as we speak sahi. Sawa. Nenda kwa page ya Faith.
You still feel her impact. Still getting things done.
Kuna vitu mimi naja kuongea hapa nimevitoa kwa Faith. I'll tell you for free.
I hear you.
So, but sasa kwa nini
she did an amazing job.
Kwa nini Natasha usiwe Faith? Sisemi uwe yeye.
I get you.
Nakutaka pale juu. Sasa hata tukikaa huku Barisa amekaa huku nikisema halo. Madam President. Shamsa hapa.
Elko mtumie Brana mwenye rules are meant to be broken.
Huyu atafungwa. Atafungwa huyu. So kuna yule kijana wa kike. Na nisieleweke vibaya maana mimi naeleweka vibaya haraka sana. Na mimi kupigwa nondo saa nyingine na afu naziba alafu nasema sita nini. Kwa yule kijana wa kike ambaye anasikiliza, anaweza kawa ni mama, mtoto pia anaweza katoa ushauri kwa mtu mzima, lakini hususan yule kijana wa kike ambaye kwamba anakusikiliza. Leo unamshauri nini hususan kwenye masuala la kwanza elimu, pili uongozi, tatu na kwenye imani?
Education is extremely important.
Yes.
Extremely important. One of the main things that we grew up hearing my mom always say is knowledge is power. Yeah. She says, whatever room you step into, if you step into the room with some sort of knowledge regarding whatever conversation is being had, you're okay. You will never feel small. Of course, knowledge is only not obtained through education, but education is a very good foundation to allow you to speak to people, get your points across. You know, without education, it becomes tough. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it becomes tough. And what else are we doing if we're not getting an education? You know, religiously, we're told Iqra, read. That's the first thing you're told, read. And that's the whole idea, that you need to expand your brain and need to have, background information or various things. It doesn't even have to be something that's currently being discussed. Education is very important. And that's why I keep asking, what else would you be doing as a child, for example? I know some of us, watoto wa kike ifika like form 2, mara hataki kusoma, form 3, but what else are you planning to do? That is my question, because your parents are busy working to earn money for you. So what is your job description at that point in time? That's on the issues of education. And if you're able to do 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, masters, a doctorate, go ahead and do it, especially if you have that support. And I feel like it's not only secular education, also religious education is very important, regardless of whatever faith that you hold, because then you're able to discern the difference between what religion tells you can and can't do and what culture is telling you can and can't do, because it's very conflicting. In my experience and understanding, it's very conflicting when you like to think that you're following your faith, and then there's different information you're being given, and then you're trying to understand, is this really my religion or is this really my culture? But if you have that power and that understanding of able to differentiate, kama no, dini inaniambia mimi niko sawa, lakini ni culture that's telling me this is impossible, I think it takes you a long way. So education is very important. Second thing you had asked me was?
Nikakwambia na hapo kwa faith. Second thing
no, leadership.
Leadership. Yes.
I think we should take up those leadership positions. I've seen women do amazing things as leaders, and I think we need to reach a point whereby I'm not coming to your breakfast show and telling you, oh, I'm the first woman ever. It shouldn't be, oh, by the way, congratulations. It should be a kawaida thing. A woman got elected, fantastic. She's probably the 100th woman that got elected in that position. We're still doing firsts. In 2026, we're still doing first woman having done this, first woman having done that. I'm very concerned. We shouldn't be doing this. It should have been regularized by this point. And I think it's very interesting that we feel that women, if we see a woman in certain fields, we feel comfort. If I see a woman teacher, mwalimu ni mwanamke, roho yangu imetulia.
Yes.
Even you, I'm sure, Barisa, as let's say as a parent or someone, okay, we see a female teacher, roho imetulia. You see a female doctor, roho imetulia. Female therapist, you're okay. Then you start seeing women in law and you're like, hey, huyu anafanya nini hapa? So
hata mwanamke kwenye mjengo, I'm like,
exactly. Or an architect. The other day I met female architects and I was so excited. They were so young and they were really in the industry.
I have one. Huyo architect. Aliniambia jameni, nikamwangalia. Alafu to make the matter worse. So yeye aliniongelesha, but mimi nikakuwa na guts, nikaenda safu. Hapa acha nitolee mfano na Shams. Wacha niseme mwenyewe hata yasikiza. Nikaenda nikamwambia, by the way, kuna fulani ameniambia yeye anaweza chora hii. Una guess reaction yenye ilitoka kwa mwanamke. Anaweza. Like, hata mimi nikasema basi hawezi. You know, so
but sadly that doesn't happen with men. You hear like there's a man architect, you're like, yeah, huyo ndo anaweza kazi kabisa. But I think we also have to start with ourselves as well.
And take up those opportunities. Even for leadership, apply. Go for it. I mean, what is the worst that would possibly happen? You don't win or you don't get the job. So you're really exactly where you were before, which you were doing fine anyway. But if you don't try, will you ever know that, you know, you're capable or the opportunity is available to you? I think we really need to break down our own barriers sometimes, because we're very much in our head. There's a research that I was reading about saying that when there's an advert for a job, a job that's available, tasema you have to have, let's say, a degree, a nini. A woman will look at all those, requirements and tick moja and be like, atakosa moja. I don't have 5 years experience in the job. They will not apply. A guy will have a diploma, not even the degree that they've asked for. Atatia makaratasi yake kama
naenda
ndio hivyo.
Shafanya sana hivyo.
Exactly.
Hivyo vitu nishafanya sana.
Exactly. So I think we really need to look at that from within ourselves. That cannot come from anywhere else but from within ourselves. On the issue of faith is that one very important. I think it keeps you grounded in a lot of ways that you really don't realize, because there's a lot of pressure to be a certain way, to do certain things, to behave in a certain manner, speak in a certain way. So if you don't have that faith kind of like blocking you from the rest of the world, I think it's very tough. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just saying that if you're aware of it, that this is what is expected of me, then it becomes a compass. Like, for example, I don't know, it's necessary that to the point that even people around you know, huyu si mwite meeting saa 7, huyu itakuwa iwaswali. Like, you know, those kind of things, that so that you it becomes easier for you to function in your position. And I think sometimes maybe it's possible that when you get to certain positions, certain professions, waogopa kujionesha kama wewe dini is something important to you. Utasema huyu anzidi sasa.
Yes.
Ama huyu shekhi siku hizi, you know. And so I feel like don't be fearful of it, because at the end of the day baina na Mungu wako. Kama wafanya kuonesha watu haya, kama wafanya wewe mwenyewe to be your centerpiece, then
jina la wakili mama anaitwa
Yasmin Ali. Alikuwa julikana kama YA Ali. Yupo. Mkali hivyo yupo.
Sasa hii ni mimi. Shamsa atajiangalia.
Sawa.
Mimi kwa kufanya
Huyu hivyo kawaida.
Hii naisema kutoka kwa
Mtima.
Sakafu ya moyo wangu. Hapo chini, kama vile bahari na sakafu yake. Kule chini hakuendeki aise. Ukiona mtu ameenda kule chini ya bahari, huyo ni study sana. Kuna siku tulileta hapa, sijui anaitwa hao ndo kwenda huko baharini, whatever wana jina lao. Mama, happy Mother's Day. Yes, happy Mother's Day. Alikwambia anajua, lakini hii sasa kwa niaba yake umetuletea chuma kimoja kisafi sana. Ambacho ni ngumu mimi by the way kutoa.
I agree. He does not compliment. This guy.
He video leo iko so I can keep it for evidence.
We'll ensure that we get in different copies so that you don't ever lose it.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm happy by the way. Nimefurahi kukaa na mtoto wa kike, alafu ana ufahamu mkubwa wa mambo mengi. Yani hapa leo tumebase kwenye vitu fulani, lakini tumekutoa kidogo, alafu tukakurudisha kwa line, alafu tukakurusha tena sehemu nyingine, lakini bado huko ambako tumekurusha na siko ambako umejipanga nako, lakini bado umeogelea, afu katoka umesimama. Mama, hongera kwa kutuzalia chema. So happy Mother's Day. Kwa hiyo ishapita, lakini happy Mother's Day kwa hiki ambacho tuko nacho hapa studio. Naweza kaa sina cha kumpa, lakini kwa maneno mazuri tu na maneno matamu, nijaliwe nipate pepo, kwa sababu
Amin.
nimeona kitu kizuri. Mimi sibahatishi.
Shukran Marisa, shukran.
You need to be coming more often. This guy is rarely speaks like this. But yeah, that's very true. This was very engaging conversation. We hope that the listeners that were, actively listening and following the conversations have gained one or two things. And for the people that were stuck or they're doubting themselves, like, I couldn't do it, we've brought someone that has shared her story. She's shown you that this hijab or being a woman does not limit you from taking those seats or those opportunities. So take yourself out of that doubt situation. Go and, take up those opportunities, because Natasha here is aiming for presidency, and inshallah we'll be making dua for you that you make it there.
Inshallah. Shukran Shamsa.
So nakupa fursa sasa ya inaitwaje?
Kauli ya mwisho.
Ile punch inaitwa nini? Hiyo ya kuondokea sasa. Hiyo ya
the last parting shots.
Yeah, yes. Parting shots.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
I think to everyone that's listening to us, it's very important to trust in yourself, to believe in yourself. And I know there'll be self-doubt, but just take yourself out of that era of self-doubt. Everybody that's sitting around you has some sort of doubt about themselves. The only difference is how you deal with your self-doubt and how they deal with it. Either we ache kuvai, ama you put it aside in a corner and be like, you know what, this is not who I am, and I'm very capable. I feel like we have to have a deep love for each other and for our country, especially considering that next year is going to be our elections. And I do really hope that you take, you take that step forward, whatever it means, in whichever way you want to do it. It doesn't have to be that you want to go into a leadership position. Whatever it is that you want to do that makes a difference to you in your life, for so long as it is obviously not breaking the law and, not crossing boundaries in terms of your faith, take those steps. We only live once. I mean, eventually, if you're allowed to reach 60, you'll be 60 looking back at, I should have, I would have, I could have.
Yes.
But time's gone. But yeah.
Tuachie hapo. Manake unaambiwa sana ikizidi sana.
Si sana tena.
Bas. tuondoke, lakini wewe uondoke. Hata hiyo weza kabaki hapa tukamaliza, alafu sasa ndio muondoke.
Sawa.
Umeelewa hiyo statement yangu?
Basi.
Hata wewe utabaki. Alafu sisi turudi tuage. Alafu ndio
tuondoke. Okay.